Hidden cams had been planted across homes all over the region. These people weren't just frauds. They were spying. "Chief," Rachel said, her voice tight, "I think they've been at this for a long time." That evening, we booked them and started interrogations separately. It took hours, but the story started to unravel like a cheap sweater. The woman, Sierra James, finally cracked. She wasn't just some flunky in a fake HOA costume. She was one of the co-founders of something she called the Community Shield program. It was a scam disguised as neighborhood enforcement, claiming to help residents restore order to rural and suburban areas left unguarded by weak law enforcement. Their goal? Simple. Create a fake HOA, intimidate people, issue fake citations, install unauthorized cameras, then collect compliance fees through threats and public shaming videos. They'd upload clips online and shame homeowners into paying, out of fear, embarrassment, or legal confusion. Sierra and her crew had hit over 40 properties already. They were trying to look legit, act like enforcers. But they had no legal standing, just a well-organized fraud ring built on fear and ignorance. I sat back in my chair in the interrogation room, arms crossed, staring at her. "You do realize who I am, right?" I asked. She gave a smirk that faltered halfway. "Yeah," she muttered. "That's why we were warned to avoid you." I raised a brow. "Warned by who?" Sierra paused, and then said one word that made my skin crawl. "Denton." Now that name I knew. Ray Denton. A former real estate speculator with a reputation for shady deals, shell companies, and vanishing investors. He had been in the wind for years after skipping town with millions in illegal HOA funds in another county. I stood up slowly. If Denton was behind this, then this wasn't just a scam. It was a revenge operation, and I had just stepped into the middle of a hornet's nest. Before I left the station, I made 2 more calls to the state attorney general's office, informing them that we were now looking at a large-scale case involving impersonation, fraud, and illegal surveillance. To a federal contact I hadn't spoken to in years. "You still run cybercrime investigations out of Dallas?" I asked. "Still do," he replied. "You got something?" "I got a spiderweb," I told him, "and I just caught one of the legs." The next morning, I visited Carol and Brian in person to update them. Carol had barely slept, but she was relieved when I told her the suspects were behind bars. Brian, however, had news of his own. "Tom," he said, stepping out onto his porch and handing me a small black box. "I found this hidden under my gutter. It's a camera, one of those fancy motion ones." I turned the box over in my hand. No serial number, no brand, nothing. Exactly the kind of tool a creep like Denton would use. "They were watching us for a while," Brian said. "Weren't they?" I nodded grimly. They were gathering dirt, mapping properties, preparing takedowns. He sat down heavily on his rocking chair. "They would have kept going if that fake cop hadn't shown up at your gate first." I looked out at the horizon of the ranches, the land we all loved and fought for, and I realized something. This wasn't about just exposing Denton and his crew. This was about protecting people like Carol and Brian from ever being targeted again. But just as I started to feel a sense of control again, Jamal burst through the gate at the ranch, holding a printed email. "Chief, you need to see this." It was from the county records department. Subject: Emergency notice of HOA compliance investigation. Your property flagged for non-payment. But this time, it had my real name and official county records attached. Someone had accessed protected government databases. They weren't just scammers anymore. They had inside help, and now they were targeting me directly. What happens next will shake everything. And before we continue, where are y'all watching from? Let me know in the comments. And remember, if someone claims their HOA and shows up at your door, always ask for ID. Better yet, know your rights and don't back down. The moment I read that forged email, something shifted in my gut. I'd seen this kind of precision before, but only in cases involving high-level insiders. This wasn't just some crook with a fake badge anymore. Someone had pulled confidential information from the county's internal property records. That system was supposed to be locked down with state-level firewalls. But this email had everything. My full name, the legal description of my ranch, the deed registration number, even the exact layout of my home down to room counts and square footage. Whoever sent this wasn't guessing. They had access. I looked up at Jamal, who stood tense with his jaw clenched. "Where did it come from?" he replied. Spoofed server. Looks like the sender's masked, like it came from the county itself, but Rachel's tracing the headers now. Inside, I could already feel the storm forming. If they could fake a violation notice with my personal county file attached, they could do it to anyone, and people would believe it. I headed straight to our internal cybersecurity office. Rachel was already at her workstation, fingers flying over the keyboard, decoding lines of gibberish that only made sense to someone like her. Talk to me, I said. I traced the IP trail. It bounced between 5 ghost servers, but I'm narrowing it down. The access was real. Someone logged into the county record system using credentials from the Department of Planning and Development. I frowned. That department's upstairs. I know, she said, which means someone with a badge got paid off, or someone in the system is working with them. I took a deep breath and leaned back. That's when Rachel froze. Chief, what is it? She turned the screen toward me. They accessed all the flagged ranches and homes, including Carol's and Brian's. Then she clicked the last tab open. And they've marked 2 more properties in for tonight. I leaned forward to read the addresses. One was just outside county lines. An older man named George Simmons, a Vietnam vet who kept to himself. The other? The local children's animal shelter. My blood ran cold. They were targeting the weakest. I stood up so fast the chair nearly tipped over. We move now. Get a team ready. Silent approach, no sirens. I want the shelter under watch immediately. Jamal and Rachel both nodded and ran off to prepare. I headed to my vehicle and radioed the station. Activate Code Raven. Possible impersonator strike scheduled tonight. Deploy 2 intercept units and alert the sheriff's department across county lines. We're running a full containment. By nightfall, we had both sites quietly monitored. My team was split into 2. Jamal led the shelter unit with 2 deputies and a drone overhead, while I took Simmons's property with Brian riding shotgun beside me. He refused to stay home. You think I'm gonna sit on my porch while creeps mess with my neighbors? He grumbled. As we drove toward Simmons's place, we kept the lights off, the vehicle coasting through the night like a shadow. The stars were dim, hidden by a blanket of clouds. That's when I saw them. 2 figures, dressed in dark uniforms, crouched beside Simmons' barn. One held a crowbar. The other was looking through a camera on a tripod, filming the fence and scribbling something on a clipboard. Brian whispered, "Unbelievable. These people don't stop." We parked half a block away, then approached on foot. I signaled to Brian to stay hidden behind a tree while I moved forward, crouched low. Closer. Closer. Until I was right behind them. I raised my flashlight and weapon and shouted, "Police! Drop it! Now!" They spun, startled, and the one with the crowbar swung at me. I dodged it, grabbed his wrist midair, twisted it behind his back, and slammed him to the ground in one fluid motion. The second one tried to run but ran straight into Brian, who tripped him with his cane like a scene out of an old Western movie. Both suspects were subdued. Both were carrying new HOA eviction notices and laminated fake IDs with the Green Valley HOA seal, which we now knew was completely fabricated. As we cuffed them, one of them muttered something I'll never forget. "It's too late anyway. Denton's already in." I knelt down beside him. "In where?" But he clammed up and looked away. Back at the station, Rachel was waiting with an update that stopped my heart. "Chief," she said, her voice low. "Remember how they spoofed that email to make it look like the county flagged your ranch?" "Yeah." She clicked a file open. "They didn't just spoof your records, they modified them. On paper, you now owe $38,000 in backdated HOA fees." I blinked. "That's impossible." "Not if they infiltrated the document vault." She turned her screen and showed me the dashboard. I saw a digital signature from my own name, attached to a supposed HOA agreement dated 3 years ago. I'd never signed anything like that. Rachel added, "They even faked a notary stamp, and unless we shut this down fast, you're going to get served with a lien." The room fell silent. Then I asked the question that was on all our minds. "Where's Denton?" Rachel's hands trembled slightly as she replied, "We just got facial recognition confirmation. He was at the protest outside our department yesterday. He was dressed as one of the cameramen." I stared at the wall for a long moment. "He's not just behind this," I said. "He's planning something big." Just then, boom! An explosion rocked the ground. The lights flickered. I grabbed my radio. Report. What was that? Jamal's voice crackled through the speaker. Chief, the animal shelter, it's on fire. We've got multiple Molotovs thrown in from the back fence. Suspects fled in a van. We're trying to get the animals out. I felt the ground vanish from under me. Denton had made his move. He didn't just want to scam us. He wanted to burn the whole system down. And the war was just getting started. See you in Chapter 5. And hey, drop a comment with your location. This story isn't just about one ranch anymore. It's about all of us. Let's spread the truth and never back down from standing up for our homes. The stench of smoke still clung to my uniform as I raced toward the children's animal shelter. Even before I arrived, I could see the flames licking at the sky in the distance. Orange fingers reaching up like the devil himself had set a match to something pure. My radio crackled again. Jamal's voice, strained but steady. We've got the animals out. No casualties so far, but the back wing's gone, Chief. The fire hit the supply room and the back fence. I floored the gas. When I pulled up, the scene was chaos. Deputies and volunteers were scrambling, some carrying cages of barking dogs, others hosing down still smoldering crates. Children from the attached community program were being shepherded into vans, their faces stained with soot and tears. I found Jamal near the van, directing fire crews. They used Molotovs? I asked, out of breath. He nodded. 3, from what we could tell, tossed over the back fence. And Chief, there were no cameras back there. They knew exactly where to strike. My heart clenched. This wasn't random. It was a message. An attack on innocence. An attack on everything good people in this county worked to protect. I called Rachel. Status? Her voice came through, shaken. Chief, it's worse than we thought. They're not just targeting physical places anymore. Someone tried to lock me out of our own system. What? I was tracing another fake document, and suddenly the system froze. Files started disappearing in real time. Whoever it is, they're inside. Inside where? She took a breath. The county network, Chief. The mainframe. The one that links permits, land records, voting districts, court filings. Everything. My blood ran cold. We had a full-blown digital breach. And as I stood there, surrounded by crying children and flaming ruins, it hit me like a sledgehammer. This wasn't about HOA scams anymore. This was a full-scale takeover. By sunrise, we had firefighters dousing the last embers of the shelter. The air was thick with smoke and grief. The kids were safe, thank God, but they'd never forget this night. None of us would. We brought in backup IT security from Dallas. Rachel worked through the night, eyes bloodshot, hands trembling as she fought to seal the breach. They've spoofed dozens of property deeds, Chief, she whispered. Some people may have already paid fake liens. The system is riddled with false HOA contracts. It's like they rewrote an entire neighborhood into a lie. I stared at the screen, silent. They even changed your voter registration, she added softly. You're now listed as a resident of Denton's new development, Green Valley Estates. My jaw clenched. Denton wasn't just scamming anymore, he was rewriting reality. And if we didn't stop him now, he'd bury the truth under layers of lies so thick, even we wouldn't know what was real. We planned a sting. Denton wanted to be public? Fine. He was planning a big community compliance rally on Friday, set to take place at an old abandoned mall just off the highway. His flyers were already spreading on social media, flashy ads filled with promises of order, safety, and accountability. I saw through it. It was a recruitment event. He wanted to draw more people into his fake HOA, rally them, weaponize them. So I made a decision. We were going in, quietly, with body cams, undercover. Rachel would be monitoring from the van. Jamal would act as security applicant. I'd dress as a landowner looking to join the HOA. Brian, bless his old bones, volunteered to be our decoy with his property dispute.